Hello. Welcome to the Malibu Music Room. Hey, well, I wonder who that could be. Why, Kenneth Bryan and Travis from the Kenneth Bryan Band. Hey, welcome to the Malibu Music Room. We're excited to have Kenneth Bryan, Travis Stevens with us today, the Kenneth Bryan Band. Welcome to the Malibu Music Room, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Make it official.
This is great.
Been waiting to have you guys on here ever since I saw you last year at the Malibu Guitar Festival. And of course, you're headlining it this year. That's coming up on May 20th. You just playing the 20th? You're playing some other dates too, right?
Some other stuff.
We're playing the Thursday night too. The
the
Casa
charity
Escobar event in the Jam, and but Saturday.
So the 18th and the 20th, that'll be fantastic. Well, it's great to have you guys. You know, one of the things for me that's great, being old school, in fact, ancient school, is that seeing bands that actually play. You know, that you guys aren't, you're not playing with tracks, you're actually playing and singing. And it's interesting to me because that is almost a lost art now. It's just that people expect the production live to be so wall of sound
Perfect.
That but not only perfect, but it's like it's almost unreal. Mm-hmm. And
yes, it's very unreal. It's like MSG. You got used to the taste in the food or whatever.
Yeah,
but it's killing you. I'm kidding.
Yeah, or it's almost like the effects on when you go to a movie now.
Yeah,
you watch these old James Bond movies, you realize somebody actually did those stunts. It's not CGI,
yeah, right.
And so it really takes away from the impact. Are you guys finding that when you're with bands you're playing, people are expecting something different, or
I don't think not from what what we do and people that are into more roots, Americana, Southern rock kind of stuff. I mean, they want the real deal.
Yeah.
They want, humans up there playing music.
Right.
I think there's so much of that pop music that was that is so whatever tuned, everything's tuned and auto tune and everything is beat doctored and and I think it's refreshing for a lot of people to come and hear people play again.
Well, yeah, I think also the other thing that is lost is dynamics.
Oh yeah.
Certain kinds of concerts, shows like that are set up that way. It's very homogenized and very sterile because in a lot of cases that's the powers that be protecting their investment, making sure that people are getting the same exact show every night. But I think the people that, like Kenneth was saying, the people that are into our kind of music and people that are fans of us or fans of other bands, the other bands that they are fans of, they demand that you go out there and do it the right way, and it's there's a different energy every night with our show. It's the goal is for it to always be really, really well done.
Yeah,
but it's not necessarily going to be the same show from night to night. There's going to be a different energy because there's a different crowd. We're communicating differently.
Well, we used to always have situations where there was a difference between the album and the live version of a song.
Yeah,
we were talking about the Beach Boys earlier. I mean, there's something where you hear this heavily produced stuff back in the day, and there would be 5 guys come on stage, no backing tracks, no nothing, and they would, the idea is they pick out the essence of the song and put it across, and that to me is really getting lost now.
I don't know, man. To me, like you talking about live records, all the records that I have, all my favorite records are live records, whether they're Allman Brothers records or Johnny Winter or Coltrane or Hank Williams bootlegs, or whatever. Because I think as a musician and everything, I like to hear what somebody's doing that particular night when they were really hitting it, and not something that's just it sounds exactly like the record. I mean, you already got the record.
Do you find it different when you're playing in Europe at all, or?
Yeah, the first time I went over there, I was kind of blown away of I've been playing since I was a little kid, mostly, Chitlin Circuit, Southeast kind of stuff starting out. And the first time I went over there, I was like 18. And just how serious people were about the music over there. They would travel 8 or 9 hours on a train and, make sure to give you something or, feed you or bring you, it was just like, it's kind of the opposite of what we get like in the States. It's like, man, you got to, burn it out to make it. And that's, your penance and everything and whatever. It's luxury problems. It's not like we're coal miners or anything. We play guitars,
right.
So, but I mean, it was like, it just, people really appreciated the music, and it, even if you're in some little dinky band that nobody had ever heard of, what I mean. But that time as well, I think there were a lot more people going to live music shows because there wasn't, YouTube and.
It's interesting talking about the different genres and stuff. To me, I'm kind of an anti-genre person because you think about Allman Brothers and Leonard Skinner. I mean, those now would be country bands, not rock bands.
Yeah,
even
right.
the Eagles. Would be considered a country band now. Yeah. Maybe even Tom Petty would be considered. If he came out now, would be considered a country band. It's just this blurring of everything, and of course, the genres are so artificial anyway. I mean, from your backgrounds, you were playing in other bands besides this. I read a little bit about you, Kenneth, that you even had playing some punk bands or something at one point.
Yeah. Well, growing up in Gainesville, Florida, there was I started playing guitar when I was about 11, and anybody that I grew up with country and bluegrass first. I mean, that's what I come from, and that's where my background is, musically, going to these picking parties and learning to play all that stuff first. And then, I got into blues, I got into rock and roll, and then, anybody, I would leave town and play guitar with anybody that was leaving, man. Just like basically like right. My buddy was like, hey man, we got this street punk band. I'm like, okay, cool. What is it? Or like, I filled in, and at the same time that I was doing my thing, I was playing in we were talking about Graham earlier.
Right.
I was playing in a band called Quarter Moon. There was these older hippie folks from around there, and they played country and southern rock. And I was filling in, and my buddy was in a reggae band. I was the only, skinny white dude in this reggae band with all these guys from Trinidad. So it was a really cool experience, man, because, of getting to do all that stuff at the same time.
Yeah.
But then I got burned out on that, and I just went to playing straight, like country rock and honky tonk stuff, like when I was about, 20.
Yeah. And,
that turned into what we're doing now, which is a mixture of all those things. I don't write a song and think, I'm going to write a country song, or I'm going to write a blues song. Like you're talking about the Brothers or Skinner, I don't know. I think you just you absorb the music of your area, in a lot of different ways. Like if you grow up in New York City, there's so much cool stuff, like, and you get a little piece of a lot of things, and you come up with your own thing.
Yeah, it's all about running it through yourself.
And Travis grew up in Charleston, West Virginia, and he was also.
Well, I thought actually he never grew up. Actually, that's what I had heard.
That is, I don't want to argue with that.
I'm still trying. Yeah, I grew up listening to a lot of weird, bizarre stuff. For where I came from, anyhow. There was always. I grew up on the side of a mountain in West Virginia. I come from coal people. So there was bluegrass happening.
Literally, people made out of coal.
They were made from coal. There was bluegrass happening all over the place, and I just, I was like, well, what else is there? And so I loved punk rock. Punk rock was my first love.
Yeah, because you're going to always be influenced by radio too.
Yeah.
You're growing up with what you're hearing with your families and stuff, and there's going to be radio.
Yeah.
And going to school or whatever too.
And being 12.
Yeah.
You're right.
And being pissed off.
Well,
or whatever.
Right.
The stuff that I'm 3 years older than you, 2 or 3 years older than you, but the time that we grew up or that I grew up, the stuff that was popular on the radio, it was still pop. It was pop music, and it was produced, and it was whatever. Everybody loves to give, I don't want to swear, a hard time to especially that decade, the 80s pop.
Right.
But the thing about the 80s was that, they took care to make records and to, be polished and all that. But as far as now goes, the things that are pop music now are very far removed from whatever they are derivative of, if that makes any sense. Like, but in the 80s, to get to my point really quickly, the stuff that was pop music was just one or two steps away, you know, like whatever the 6 degrees to Kevin Bacon
right.
was just 1 or 2 degrees away from something that was pretty groundbreaking. You know, and it might sound cheesy and polished to listen to now, or maybe even back then.
Right.
But like, if there was a band that had a hit in the 80s, they were just 1 or 2 steps away from a band that was like genuinely a post-punk or
Susie and the Banshees
or something like that. You know, like Tears
just
for
one
Fears
producer
is
away.
only 2. Yeah, it's seriously like one producer away from the Joy Division. You know, which is 1 step away, honestly, from the Ramones or the Sex Pistols or something. It's not that far away. Now pop music is so far removed from anything groundbreaking. You know, it might be groundbreaking in terms of the technology or the whatever.
You know, in my day, you listen to a radio station, you could hear the Grateful Dead, the Beatles, Jefferson Airplane, Allman Brothers. You're never going to mistake the Allman Brothers for Jefferson Airplane. You're never going to mistake Jimi Hendrix for the Beatles. You're not going to mistake the Rolling Stones for the Doors.
Yeah.
You know, these are all very individual sounding bands, all on the same radio station. Now,
that'd be 7 different radio stations.
You'd have to have 7 different radio stations to hear that. And the proof in the pudding is Sirius XM. You have to have 300 different stations to hear that, you know. And that is a problem that I think made those bands more homogenized, because it used to be you wrote songs because you wanted to say something. Now when you write a song and bring it to a label, it's like, where do you hear that being played? And that never came into you.
And it's worse than that. I mean, it's like from somebody who's, I mean, I've spent my life, like, you know, until the last few years in a van, sleeping in, you know, rest areas and Walmart parking lots because I didn't want to deal with that. You know, because, you know, I would, you know, like you're saying, dealing with not all labels and not all people in the music business are bad. There's this general thing of like, everybody's against us. It's not true. Yeah. There's a lot of great people involved in the business and everything side of it. But there's a lot of the other too. There's a lot of like, well, you know, you don't really fit into country. You don't really fit into rock and roll. You don't really fit into this. So we don't know, you know, where to put you.
Yeah.
You know, I've had managers in Nashville say, well, we don't really know what to do with Southern music.
Yeah.
Why are you in Nashville?
Why are you in Nashville?
Tennessee. I mean, so you know, I'd say anybody that's experiencing that, like, and if you're really good at what you do, you're going to experience that. You know, like you're talking about your son and people like that. And I would say just, you know, my advice is put blinders on and, you know, listen to the people that you respect and not the people that, you know, are hot this 5 minutes or whatever.
See, to me, it comes down to the song.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't. I mean, I when I hear a song, it's like I like it. I don't stop to think: is that Southern music? Is that Motown? Is that whatever?
You know, they'll say, "Oh, you know, you guys are a little this and a little that and a little. You know, we don't know where to put you. Put us on stage."
Yeah, exactly.
Because we'll win a room over, and any good band will do that. It doesn't. I don't have to go to. You know, I don't necessarily claim to be like, I don't know, whatever, a huge polka fan, but if I was in a room and there's a great polka band playing, I'm
Frankie
like, these guys are dynamite.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, whatever. If it's good, I'm gonna dig it. And that's how people are.
Well, speaking of the good people in music, you guys had Johnny Sandlin produce for you, of course, famous Allman Brothers producer. How did that come about?
I was living in Texas and got, you know, it was a strange time in my life. I had to turn my life around in a big way. So I moved back to Nashville. And I didn't really dig Nashville anymore living there. It had changed a lot. It had turned, there's a lot less cornbread and a lot more bistros, if you know what I mean, that's fine, but it was weird for me anyway, just being me. So I moved, our drummer was from Tanner, Alabama, North Alabama, in between Decatur and Athens. And I moved there, and Travis, we all moved on to his old plantation. I mean, it's still in the family. I mean, you know, it's 8,000 acres of cotton and corn. We're living there. We're getting this thing together, rehearsing all day long. Like, we would get up, go four-wheeling or whatever, go into town, get coffee, come back, and play. I mean, hours and hours. And this girl that we know, I was listening to a lot of. You're talking about Dwayne Betts earlier. Dwayne's a really good friend of ours and amazing player. And I was listening to a lot of his dad's stuff, the solo stuff. Great Southern, and Dan Toller, one of my favorite guitar players on there, and Dickie, of course. And I started to look at everything I was listening to at the time was produced by this dude, Johnny Sandlin, And so I started looking up Johnny, and he was in Hourglass with Dwayne and Greg when they came out here. And so I was talking about him one day, and this girl that was on the farm said, "Oh, I know Johnny. I went to school with his daughter." And I was like, "Really? Here?" She goes, "Yeah, he lives over like on the other side of town." And I was like, "You got to be kidding me, man." I was like, well, "All right, I need his number. I need somebody." So somebody got me Ann, his wife's number. And Johnny had moved back. He was from Decatur, and he had moved back there and, moved his whole, everything, like a lot of the gear from Capricorn and Criteria and stuff, into a building behind his place over there. And I needed somebody to do this new record. And, I went over there and just to see if we were going to click. And man, we sat there and talked for like 4 hours. It's crazy. And like, he's one of my best friends, like, age apart. I mean, we're having 30 years apart, but I worked with him. We did that record, and then I worked with him for another like 4 or 5 years. And
wow. And
I talked to him all the time.
So did he suggest about doing that Dickie Betts tune? Ain't nothing you can do about it?
We were doing that live, I think. And
so that was before you even got involved with it.
Yeah, we were doing that live, and I think we were warming up with it one day or doing something in the studio, because we would literally like spend all night on the farm, in the shop, barn, or whatever you want to call it, and then go over there and and start warming up. And he was like, "Oh yeah, man, I remember that song." And he said, "I think Bonnie sang on that." So, he's like, "Let's do that, and we'll get Bonnie to come down." And so he called, Bonnie Bramlett. She came down. We had cut a version of that, and, he put it on there. I don't know, Johnny was really good. The exact opposite of everything we're just talking about. Like, my approach already was to go in and just do 2 or 3 takes. And if we can't get it in 2 or 3 takes, we don't have any business doing it.
Yeah.
Almost everything's live, except for, like, we'll go redo the vocals. I mean, most of the guitar solos are live, and Johnny was very much that way. He would spend an hour and a half getting a snare sound, and then everything else was live.
Right. Well, tell me a little bit about the new album.
Man, it's great.
That's coming out May 18th, right? It should be out.
That's the gala.
It's pretty much
event,
this whole weekend.
But the whole weekend, available on iTunes and everywhere you can get digital music. We'll
19th. Put up a little strip on the bottom here. Just with all that information for you. That's right.
Hold on. Right. Mention the name of the album. Right. Talk about release. I'm kidding. I used to have this manager just give me notes. Like, I'm supposed to say the name of the album 5 times, and I'm like, "Oh, I only did it 4 times."
Can we go back?
I failed again.
So it's going to be a fun week, because it's going to be, the Malibu Guitar Festival is going to be great anyway, and then that's going to be our, the kind of just like a week-long party, release the record. And
what's the new record called?
So it's called
Lions.
With Lions. We did it with David Bianco here in North Hollywood, and we were on tour with Lucinda Williams for a couple of years, for 2.5 years or something. Lou came out to a show we did at the Roxy before we lived out here, and she flipped out, and it was like, I'm taking you on tour, and I'm doing, and it was like, yeah, right, man. The next day, boom, and so we were out with her for like 2.5 years. She got us into Dave Bianco's studio there to cut some tracks with her, and we just loved it, man. David was great. He worked with Rick Rubin for years, and Draculius and all these guys. Like, he's kind of the mastermind that behind all this stuff, that like you think it's other people's work, and it's like this. Oh, actually, so it was amazing, man. And we went in there and just tracked and just lay down the everything that fit together. I mean, I write constantly, so there's a lot of stuff to.
Because your Blackbird was just recently. That was an EP, I know, but
it was. Yeah, that was
almost 2 years ago.
2 years.
Oh, it was 2 years ago.
Year and a half ago. Yeah.
We had that in the can for a while. We recorded that while we were on the road, and we tried to capture the sound of what we were doing live at the time on that, which was a little heavier and a little more raw. And this is sort of. It's in between, I'd say, Welcome to Alabama and Blackbird.
Welcome to Alabama is almost a little dark in a way. It's like,
it was a dark time.
Yeah.
It was a dark time in my life, man. like get all dark time in my life on the camera, but
Right.
I was really bad off at the time when I was living in Texas, as far as alcohol and drugs, and I had no idea what was wrong. I just thought everyone else was crazy. And anyway, it's sort of all those songs from that album came out of that time, and I got it together, man, and got sober and got out of that situation. Thank God.
So is this a much more uplifting album? Would you say? Or?
I mean, no, probably not for me. 'Cause I'm just not that type of person, man. Like, don't let your kids grow up with bluegrass. I was, it's so funny, man. I used to go, I love bluegrass, man. I grew up with it. I used to say it's the Amish of music, like 1951, stop.
Right.
But these kids, these people would beat their kids if they listened to Van Halen or Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Right.
They're like, listen to Loon Brothers, and all the songs are about
Murder
killing
ballad,
some
murder
girl
ballad,
and
murder ballad.
stabbing
Yeah,
the girl
yeah.
and throwing her in the river. And so,
Right.
like, I don't know, it had a profound effect on me, I think. But I said, if bluegrass has taught me anything, it's teach your daughters to swim. So, I don't know if this is good for. Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's always got such an Celtic Irish background in music, and all that stuff is murder and war and starving and just it's fantastic music. Well, the reality is that it's usually easier to write a sad song
under adversity.
Yeah, because you've got emotion.
Right.
When you're happy, you're out being happy. You're not sitting around writing. That's the thing.
Exactly. Yeah. I think it's to do it. You just it doesn't have to be happy, feel good, but like just to draw inspiration from other places. Like drawing inspiration from desperation and pity and whatever is kind of easy to do. You know? But drawing inspiration from life and what's behind what you're doing, and like just a different, instead of singing about the sun going down, you're singing about the sun going up. You're coming up, going up. And
There it goes.
there it be.
But how did you guys get together? Actually,
We moved to Nashville very, obviously independently of each other, but it just so happened that we both moved to Nashville like the same week, I think.
yeah.
And we met at a party. Like we were both hanging around on Lower Broadway in Nashville.
Yeah, I was playing there.
Hillbilly
Tip
Boot
gigs.
Camp.
Hillbilly Boot Camp. We Bluegrass Inn and Roberts tip gigs, 5-hour gigs. We used to play. You got $20 a man, and the rest was tips.
Right.
And that's where we met. So.
Yeah, and there were always, after the bars closed, there was a girl that had an apartment that was one of the bartenders that had an
I don't
apartment.
even remember this, man. Seriously, I'm interested in how we met.
Right.
I swear to God.
And they had this they were bartenders at these two bars that we hung out with, and they lived like 2 blocks away from the bars. Everybody would go and hang out and jam or whatever. And he and I think it was Graham Parsons that I was like
Because it was kind of a time where there was this whole honky tonk rockabilly elitist thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
And anything that was like considered hippie music, if you're like, wow, that's like hippie music. And I was like, just because somebody has long hair doesn't mean they're a hippie, man.
Right,
just because somebody plays. And so I think we were sort of defending the same thing, and it was like, man, good song's a good song.
Yeah.
And that's just damn good music. I mean, I don't care.
Well, it was interesting listening to with you guys with Lily Mae.
Yeah.
I said that that last call really reminded me of the Graham. I told you that I had known Graham and Emmy, and my buddy from my band, Walter Egan, wrote Hearts on Fire.
That's a great song,
and that really reminded me of the interplay of the way they sang, because it wasn't like a regular harmony. It was more like a weaving.
Oh, yeah.
We
that was cool. I got to sing with Emmy Lou recently. I did the Rufus Wainwright thing in Nashville, and got to sing with Emmy, and it was amazing.
Yeah. She's a good cook, too.
She made Mama's falling down pound cake for us. I was like, okay, hashtag, am I cool yet? This is great.
Yeah.
But I think that me and Lily Mae sang so good together. Especially like, we did a lot of different things, like her, we did a record with her, and a lot of it was live, man. Like looking at each other singing, and she grew up with bluegrass, I grew up with bluegrass, but we're both into like other stuff too. And so
she works with Jack White, right?
She played with Jack for about 3 years, and we dated for about 4 years. I'd known her since she was since those days back in Lower Broadway.
Okay.
And the family band was playing down there. That they had, but we just sort of like immediately every time we sang together, sort of like me and you, man. Like every time we sang together, it just happened. You know, some people you sing with, and you know whatever. Like I was listening last night driving out to Agora Hills. I was listening to Tony Rice and early record. One of the early records was Ricky Skaggs singing. Mm-hmm. You know, and some people when they sing together, man, it's just like, you know. And so that was me and her had that immediately.
I remember when Ricky joined up with Emmy Lou's band.
Oh yeah,
that was really good.
Emmy was, man, she was so cool. She was so cool, and
Graham was always kind of an enigma. You know, he's kind of this, you know, not that I really knew him well or anything, but you know, he was like a guy. You know, he went to Harvard.
Yeah.
You know, but somehow he was able to get himself in there to actually change. I mean, he worked himself into the Byrds. It was like one of the biggest American bands, and the Rolling Stones. Yeah. It's like, you know, and then with the Burritos, of course.
Yeah, man.
You know, it was just amazing.
I mean, I think, you know, Graham being who he was, being, you know, old Southern, old Florida money, and growing up around that, and being not because of the money, but just being growing up in that culture.
Yeah.
Just, I think he was, you know, it was an ease that he had. I think, you know, with just, you know, despite, you know, what you see on TV about where we come from, it's not all Honey Boo Boo. There's a lot of William Faulkner, Flannery O'Connor. You know, like, oh yeah, and like, there's a lot of that. That's what they let you see on TV is Honey Boo Boo and people of Walmart and Duck Dynasty. Which, if you look up those Duck Dynasty guys, apparently that's all BS. They were all like frat boys 10 years ago and grew the beards out and stuff.
Right. Polo shirts and
khaki
shorts.
But anyway, so Graham, I think he just had that thing, you know, like
whatever you call it, charisma, whatever you want to say, whatever.
Charm and ease.
People just were attracted to him,
even
though they were the stars and he wasn't.
Delaney Bramlett had that, I think, too. Yeah. Like everybody wanted. I was talking to Johnny about that. Everybody wanted to be Delaney out here because he was actually a dude from Mississippi who knew all these, you know, and so I don't know. Graham had a huge influence on me though, and him too, and with anti-genre.
Yeah, it's just amazing with Graham how, you know, with genres and stuff, you know, he was able to, you know, go to rock and roll bands and present them with what would have been described as country music. But the thing is, it was just really good stuff, you know, like, you know, different, like Hickory Wind and stuff like that.
Yeah, man, that definitely, I think that's the first Graham song I ever played. And whether it's, I think he was able to do that because, you know, like with the Stones, they were into like, you know, black blues music or whatever. And country is white blues music, you know, and it's the same, comes from the same place, you know. So
can you give me a little?
Yeah, sure, man. Hickory Wind.
In South Carolina, many tall pines. I remember the oak tree we used to climb. Now when I'm lonesome, I always pretend getting a feel of hickory wind, and I started out younger.
I love that line.
Most everything, all the riches and pleasure. What else could life bring? But it makes hard place to find out. Trouble is real in a faraway city with a faraway feel, but it makes me feel better every time it begins, calling me home. Hickory wind, it keeps calling me home. Hickory wind, it keeps calling me home. Hickory wind.
Thanks, guys. That's fantastic. Thank you. Well, you out there all ready for some original stuff now from Kenneth and Travis, the Kenneth Bryan Band? Let's go do it now. Thank you.
This is a song called Fly Away that I wrote when I was living outside of Nashville, Tennessee, in Donaldson, out by the airport. And, you could drop someone off at the airport, get back to the house, and watch their particular plane fly off. Because it's not like LAX, there's not that many planes going out. So I did that one day, and I wrote this song. It's called Fly Away.
If I stare long enough out into the sun, would it change the way I'm living? Would it change the things I've done? 'Cause I'm out here on this black top. Swear I've got to stay. Yeah, I'm out here on this black top, watching you fly away. But you're looking out the window, watching the towns go by. Or maybe talking to some stranger with your heart in your eye. But I'm out here on this black top. Swear I've got to stay. Yeah, I'm out here on this black top, watching you fly away. Do you feel any distance with your feet up off the ground? Does your heart beat any faster way up in the clouds? Now I'm watching as it just disappears across the sky. All these short nights together, are they just a long goodbye? 'Cause I'm out here on this black top. Swear I've got to stay. Yeah, I'm out here on this black top, watching you fly away. Yeah, I'm watching you fly away. I'm watching you fly away. Yeah, I'm watching you fly away. Watching you fly away. All right, thank you very much. This next song is the song I wrote in Decatur, Alabama at Johnny Sandlin's studio, where I used to sleep a lot, escaping Nashville in North Alabama. And I wrote this song one night. I woke up and I was having a serious dream, and a line of the song occurred to me, and I started writing it down. And it was turns out it was the night a good friend of mine passed away, Mr. Ike Owens. He was a great musician, and it would have been right around the same time, I guess, so the song was very kind of, it's always with me. It's called Beautiful Storm. Wake up in the morning, I can hear the wind through the walls. I can feel the thunder before the lightning starts to fall. I'm standing in the front yard with a pocket full of stones, and I can feel the rain calling me home. It's been a beautiful stone. Watch the wind tearing down our home. It's been a beautiful stone, and now I'm ready for the sun. Yes, I'm ready for the sun. Lay down in the evening with your body far from mine, trying to find a reason while I'm losing the ground, carrying a fire that's burning through my heart. You better learn to swim. I'm burning down the ark. It's been a beautiful storm. I've watched the wind tearing down the phone. It's been a beautiful storm. And now I'm ready for the sun. Yes, I'm ready for the sun. It's been a beautiful storm. Watch the wind tearing down the phone. It's been a beautiful storm. Now I'm ready for the sun. Yes, I'm ready for the sun. Yes, I'm ready for the sun.
All right, thanks so much to Kenneth Bryan and Travis Stevens, the Kenneth Bryan Band, for coming down here tonight. And want to remind everybody that these guys are going to be headlining the Malibu Guitar Festival. They'll be playing on the 18th and the 20th. Guitar Festival is 18th, 19th, 20th of May. Such bands as Mick Fleetwood's Blues Band will be there. Lenny Goldsmith will be there, the Malibus, the Palms. But come on down and support live music in Malibu. And thanks again, you guys, for coming down. And thank you for coming to the Malibu Music Room. See you next time.